Recording right now. Okay. Good evening, everyone, from the Parsippany Library. Tonight's program is sponsored by the Parsippany Green Team. And this is, excuse me just a minute. I'm sorry, Green Infrastructure for Your Home and Community. And our presenter tonight will be Thomas Beluge. Thomas, I just wanted to welcome you to the Parsippany Library. Just some quick Zoom etiquette. Please stay on mute unless you have something, questions. You want to wait till the end of the program? Is that okay with you to wait, Thomas, till the end of the
program? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Not a problem at all.
All right. We're just waiting for one person to get in. If you just want to wait for them,
sure.
or you can start whatever you want to do.
Okay. I'll start sharing.
Great.
So you guys can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a resident member of Parsippany's Green Team. And my day job, I work for Prudential in technology risk and in security there, but I do a lot of volunteer work outside of Parsippany's Green Team within Prudential, part of their environmental task force there, part of their local green team from Morris and Essex County. I'm actually head that up. And I'm a citizen scientist for Raritan Headwaters, the Raritan Headwaters Association. I do some habitat biological and chemical water monitoring for them. We're actually just kicking that off for the 2021 season this month. And then I'm also a Rutgers certified environmental steward. So there's a lot that I am passionate about when it comes to the environment. And one of the things is green infrastructure. And I'm trying to work with Judy and other members of the Green Team to begin to implement green infrastructure and some of these ideas you see today throughout our community. So we're going to start out though with Matt chiming in. We got a couple of updates on our Sustainable New Jersey or Sustainable Jersey certification.
All right, thank you, Tom. Yes, so as mentioned, this is a really nice series. Thank you, library, for hosting us and allowing us this opportunity. I'm the co-leader of the Parsippany Green Team, and we are pursuing certification within the program of Sustainable Jersey, which is a points-based system. And we've built out our mission to, I'll read it here. The mission of the Green Team is to collaborate with our residents, town government, and business community to identify and implement programs that improve our quality of life and the physical, environmental, and financial stability of our community. So if you want to move to the next slide, I'll give you an overview of what we're after, what we're up to. Sustainable Jersey, as I mentioned, is a points-based system with bronze, silver, gold. This year, we are after bronze, which is 150 points. And within the program, there's 150 independent actions or initiatives, each one worth a certain number of points. So we think we have bronze this year, which is great. We just submitted early July, and hopefully our stretch goal was silver, but we'll see if we get there. And then ultimate goal is we're going after gold in energy, and Judy potentially considering gold in water. So, you know, we can talk through that, but these are the high level goals of the team. And I think we have one more slide, right?
Yep.
Yep. So one of the things that we're doing is community education and outreach, which is one of the actions, and the library education series that we've been hosting with the library from the beginning of the year, trying to span multiple different topics across sustainability issues, from animals to plants to energy to buildings, as you see with this one. And we have an ongoing series. Some of the dates are listed there. Meatless Mondays, rain gardens, and renewable energy aggregation are up next. And it's easy to sign up on the Parsippany Library main calendar. You just click on that, register, and then you'll get a Zoom link. So looking forward to this presentation, and thank you all for attending. That's the Green Team.
Thanks a lot, Matt. So one of the things we are looking at, within the green team is green infrastructure. So let's get to that. And we talked about potentially, shooting for a goal from a water perspective of gold in that Sustainable Jersey program. And so water is important. I think we're kind of blessed here in Parsippany. We do have aquifers that were created, a long time ago that provide our drinking water. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be there forever. We need to take care of it. We need to safeguard our water, not only within our town, within the state. Safeguarding water quality and critical water resources, it is a direct impact on everybody, on our health, on our safety, and the quality of life, and the drinkable, potable water for millions of people from the various watersheds within New Jersey and communities that rely on that water. So to start out, we obviously know, most of us would know the natural hydraulic cycle, right? We have condensation, we have evaporation from waterways, we have transpiration coming out of trees, which is water formulating into clouds and then precipitating down. Then you have stormwater runoff, and then you have infiltration into the ground and into our aquifers here in Parsippany, right? Those aquifers were created, I guess, possibly even during the Ice Age, a long time ago. And those aquifers hold that water, but the infiltration into the ground is where it all comes into play. That's what naturally filters our water for us. Instead of it going to a water treatment plant or somewhere that costs a lot of money for a municipality, that natural filtration system is something we could all benefit from. Stormwater runoff is natural, but if it's going on roadways and driveways and rooftops, then it's not, and it's going to collect a lot of things that we don't want to collect in that water. And the things that I just mentioned is called impervious cover. So that's your driveways, your roadways, your sidewalks. And as little as an increase of 30 to 50% in that impervious cover could reduce that infiltration by as much as 15%, that natural filtration into our groundwater and into our aquifers. It can increase the runoff by as much as 20%, and it reduce the amount of evapotranspiration that takes place as well. So, that's 30 to 50%. Some of our urban areas within New Jersey are close to 90 to 100%. These numbers drastically change from that perspective. So impervious cover, is basically cover that does not allow water to flow through and produces runoff from residential homes, roads, and businesses. That runoff, though, can contain herbicides, pesticides from our fertilizers, sediment that builds up from our rooftops, from our roadways, animal waste, household cleaners for washing our cars, oil and grease from roadways, and of course road salt during the course of the winter that are used to protect or to clear our roadways. So there's a lot of things that get caught up in that if this doesn't get into that natural filtration system that I mentioned. But there is a way to help, right? And there is a way for you as an individual or as a community. There are things that we can do. And that's green infrastructure. So green infrastructure is basically a cost-effective, sustainable way, an environmentally friendly way of capturing, filtering, helping that water to absorb, and reusing that water potentially, and maintaining or mimicking that natural infiltration system that I mentioned before, and making the runoff actually a resource as opposed to a detriment, right? So what are our options as a community or as you as an individual at your home? There's three basic types of green infrastructure. We have vegetative systems, which are our bioretention systems. These come in the form of rain gardens or bioswells, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But these are natural areas that can be developed on your property on the property of municipal buildings, businesses, that can help capture and help slowly drain rainwater from gutters, from roadways, and we'll talk about it a little bit more about that in a little bit. There's cisterns or rain barrels, which actually harvest that water, right? So you could use rainwater for watering your flower beds, watering your gardens, watering, your house plants that are outside or inside. Cisterns are bigger. They're not as big as rain barrels, but cisterns could be used, by municipalities to wash trucks and vehicles at police stations or at fire stations. Rain barrels could be used in your home to wash your car. We'll talk a little bit more about that in detail. And then there's storage systems, temporary storage systems like stormwater planters along sidewalks and roadways. There's, street trees or stormwater tree pits that can help to capture water, sustain the life of a tree, but also allow that water to filter in. And then there's pervious pavement that has the look and feel of asphalt or concrete, but actually allows water to permeate through it and get back into the infiltration system that's natural. So bioswells and rain gardens, what are they? On the left there, you're seeing basically what a bioswell is, where you have a large area of roadway that's actually feeding into a depression on the side of the road there where water would normally gather. It's filled here with natural plants. Those plants can be native to New Jersey. The soils are generally modified, and these things help to detain and infiltrate, and through the plants evapotranspirate the rainwater. So that the bioswell on the left there it captures water from a large area. There's no one specific intake, whereas a rain garden basically will have a specific intake. It could be from a drain on a roadway. It could be from your drains coming off of your roof, right? So it could come directly off of your rooftops, from your gutters into a specific area where these plants and modified soils exist and allow that slow absorption in. These are basically, like I said, native plants. For a bioswell, it's a slope that goes down into it. The inlet could be, very big, and allow water coming off of a roadway, coming off of a sidewalk, into the bioswell. The native plants are going to be obviously something that we want to be water tolerant, because there's going to be water sitting there for a brief period of time. And the soils are going to be pervious soils, so sandy type soils. We're not going to have hard clay soils that don't allow that that infiltration. This is an example of a bioswell that's getting some feed from a driveway and from a sidewalk, with plants and rocks that are collected in the middle. It looks nice. It's natural. It could be a project that could be done within the town. It could be a project within your own landscape. This is on the side of a driveway or parking lot where their curb is not actually retaining the asphalt, but it's allowing the water to run off into the bioswale and absorb into the soil. Okay, so the basic concept of a rain garden is a little bit different, but it's basically the same. There's generally one area of intake. In this particular case, you have an example where it's running off of a roadway where a storm drain normally would be, and run into a rain garden. Once again, natural plants, natural ponding, porous soils at the curb, allowing that water to drain. Here is one from a house where it's coming from a drain pipe off of a roof, and forming like a little kind of a little creek bed. So instead of a lawn, here we have a rain garden, which is actually allowing water to flow through and naturally infiltrate back in. Once again, single source of that water would be the drain pipes coming off the house. Here's another example of that as well, coming off the porch roof, drain pipes going into a nice rain garden that's been built. They look nice, they look natural, they take up a lot of what normally would be just grassy areas, potentially where compacted soils could form on grass. So it really looks nice here and can be a really nice addition to your landscape. It could also be an addition to a business's landscape, right? Here's a much larger one capturing water coming off of the roof to the left there. And then in the background there a little bit more, there's a drain, looks like it may be coming off a parking lot. This is relatively immature, but when these plants mature, this will be a beautiful, natural way of capturing rainwater from these impervious surfaces, the roof of the building and the parking lot. Here's another immature installation. It looks like it's maybe at an office or a business or possibly a municipal building. But these are capturing the drains and capturing the rainwater from the drains from the roof. And these grasses are going to grow. The plants around it are going to grow. There's some reuse of concrete that may have been broken up from a construction site being utilized here. So, there's lots of really good ideas that you could put into these, once again, within the community from municipality or business perspective or at your home. Another option are the rain barrels and cisterns, as I mentioned before. The rain barrels capture the water off of your roof and store it. You can use that rain barrel to water your plants in your flower beds. You can water hanging plants. There was a study that was done with Rutgers that tested rain barrels, because when water does come off a roof, there is a possibility of pathogens making its way into that water, because bird waste and different pollutants may settle on your roof during dry periods of time. And Rutgers did do a study, and I'm going to provide everyone a link to that. You can go to it and take a look. But Rutgers did do a study which basically said it's safe to use in gardens that are vegetable gardens. If you do have long periods of time where you do have a dry spell, it is a good idea to put 1 ounce of bleach into that water. It'll be totally dispersed. It won't affect any of the plants or anything like that, but it'll deal with any slight pathogen that might make its way into there. But once again, it's okay. It should not be used for drinking water, and it should not be used for potable cooking or bathing or anything like that. These are made to be utilized to water for your water needs, irrigation needs around your house. You're not going to have water pressure in these, so the water pressure coming out of a hose will be slow. But if you set it up properly, it would be a steady flow. So most of the time, folks use watering cans underneath there and just use it for their irrigation, their local irrigation. From a larger perspective, you have what are called cisterns. Cisterns can be used by municipalities to capture water for firehouses, for police departments. They could be used to irrigate the landscaping in and around these facilities, irrigate the landscaping in and around a municipal building or a public works building. It could also be used to wash the fire trucks. It could be used to wash the police trucks. The police cars. So you have a lot of opportunities to use large amounts of water within these on a much larger scale, at a business or a municipal building. Then there's pervious pavement. So pervious pavement looks a lot like concrete. It could look a lot like asphalt, but it's not. It's porous, and it allows water to flow through it. It comes in the form of pervious concrete, porous asphalt, interlocking concrete pavers, which allow grass to grow up in between it, and something that are called grid pavers. These allow water to flow into the under portion of what is a pervious pavement implementation, and let the water sit there for a little while before it slowly makes its way into our aquifers underground. The pervious pavements are a little bit more expensive, obviously, from an installation perspective, and they're not necessarily made for high traffic areas. So if you were going to install that within a parking lot, in this particular example, you see it in the parking spaces, not along the driveways in and out where most of the traffic takes place. If you have a side driveway at your home, you can put pervious pavers there, or interlocking pavers there, and allow the water to infiltrate, as long as you're not driving on that, most of the time. If it's a side driveway, for example. Corners of parking lots, areas of parking lots that are not widely used, great opportunity to do that. And you could even build a bioswell off the side of it if there is any heavy rain that does run off of it. So here's an idea of what it looks like underground. There's a large rock layer there right before it hits the soil, where the final infiltration takes place, and then the soil will take over from there. But there is an implementation underneath that, and that's where the cost increase does come from. Some other ideas from municipal perspective would be along roadways, instead of storm drains, you create these vegetative structures called stormwater planters. They basically hold or intercept that stormwater runoff, and will hold it and allow it to slowly drain into the ground. It can be done along a sidewalk, as it's indicated here. You could also use tree planters for street trees, not only allowing for the capture of that water for the tree and the environment that it needs to spread its roots and grow, but it also allows that water to infiltrate in instead of running off on the sidewalk. So instead of taking up square footage on the sidewalk, you have a tree pit that will absorb that water. So green infrastructure, when you do implement it throughout a township at your home, it's not going to come basically free of charge from a perspective of maintenance, right? You're going to have to worry about weeding and mulching and pruning, but great opportunities to keep you busy. And if you like to get outside, it'll give you a great opportunity to do that. The pruning of the shrubs and potentially small trees that are going to be planted, the removal of sediment that's going to build up potentially off of your roof. You're going to get some of the asphalt shingles providing sediment buildup, within there. So you do need to clean that out. Debris is also going to formulate in these as well. And then obviously with the cisterns and with the rain barrels, you're going to have to winterize them, making sure that they don't turn into blocks of ice over the winter. So you basically want to drain them out and either move them or make sure that the water is redirected outside of them during the winter months. Long-term results from a municipal and from a home residential perspective is, it becomes a standard practice if you see it and you begin to implement it throughout a community. Places in Parsippany are very susceptible to flooding. It can help to locally reduce that risk. The water quality obviously improves, especially here in Parsippany, where we do have glacier created aquifers. So the water that's permeating into the ground eventually is going to make it to your home, to your spigots. And the community as itself becomes more resilient to extreme weather events like Sandy. If this green infrastructure becomes widespread, and it adds to the natural beauty of a community, obviously, as well. And you can engage residents from an environmental awareness perspective, and just from a volunteer perspective, and bring everybody to that awareness and to that understanding that this is really, really important. So other water quality protection ideas are out there besides the infrastructure, right? Obviously, we know that we all put fertilizers down on our grass. So phosphorus-free fertilizers, they cannot be sold in stores with phosphorus in them anymore. The only place a phosphorus fertilizer exists is on a farm through a permit. So for agricultural reasons, phosphorus can be used, but we can't use them on our residential homes. So phosphorus-free fertilizers, these things, this will help to prevent that runoff that eventually makes its way to our lakes and streams and causes those algae blooms that we're seeing and we have seen in many communities throughout New Jersey. Mow your lawn at a minimum height of 3 inches to keep the soil moist so it doesn't dry out and allow for quick runoff during rainstorms. And if possible, leave the grass clippings on your lawn to help not only fertilize the lawn, but to help maintain that moisture seal and allow that infiltration to take place. Convert your lawn areas to beds or to rain gardens, right? Natural vegetation. Mulch, cover those exposed soil areas as much as you can to help prevent runoff. Aerate your lawns and prevent especially in high traffic areas to avoid compaction, because the compacted soils are what allow the runoff to happen into the streets and sidewalks and driveways. Use natural pesticides, herbicide approaches to controlling pests and weeds. One of the things that I do is I put 1 gallon of vinegar, 2 cups of Epsom salts, and a 1/4 cup of Dawn dish detergent into a sprayer, and that will absolutely kill unwanted vegetation naturally and without harming the environment. So there are ways around that. It's not something you could broad base across your lawn, because it will kill the grass as well. But in places that you don't want grass or places you don't want weeds, you can use natural pesticide and herbicide approaches that are out there. Pick up and dispose of pet waste that contains a lot of nitrates and phosphates within it that will eventually make its way into a waterway and add again to that algae bloom potential. Create your own compost to fertilize vegetation instead of using store-bought fertilizers. Create a compost heap in your backyard. I do that and use it for my garden, and it's just absolutely incredible how good that works, and saves a lot of kitchen waste from going into the garbage, into a normal garbage and making its way over to a landfill. Proper care and awareness. If you have a septic system, that's very obvious, right? And then properly dispose of household chemicals and automotive fluids. And potentially, even if you can, take your car to a car wash. They generally do recycle water there, as opposed to it just running off the street into the gutter when you wash it in your driveway. The reuse of the water within the commercial car washes is probably a better way to go. These are some of the additional resources I promised before. So the rain gardens and rain barrels, Raritan headwaters information. That's something that you guys could take a look at. Gives you a lot more information on rain gardens and rain barrels and the use of them. Raritan headwaters also has a river-friendly resident program, which helps to talk about some of the things I just mentioned, about, controlling your waste and making sure you cut your grass at 3 inches and all different types of things like that help prevent runoff from a residential perspective. New Jersey native plants that could be used in the bioswells and in the rain gardens. There's a link there to New Jersey, the jerseyyards.org, which is a great Jersey-friendly plant location, native plants for New Jersey. Rain barrel water quality study. That's what I mentioned before about from Rutgers. That's something you could take a look at and to feel safe about using the rain water in a rain barrel in a vegetable garden. And then, we talked about early on our effort as a township, as a community, to make it to that gold standard for sustainable New Jersey. And that's the link to it at the bottom here. And that's it. If you guys have any questions, I'll be more than willing to field them now.
I actually have 2 questions. Can you stop your screen share so we can see each other?
Sure.
So I know that we did have one of the Girl Scouts in town created a garden like you were talking about. It's like a runoff garden right in one of the small parks. But my question is, what is a citizen scientist?
So I'm a citizen scientist, which means I have been trained by Raritan Headwaters as a volunteer to do habitat, biological, and chemical water analysis. It's not for the actual watershed that we live in here in Parsippany. It's for the Raritan River, the upper Raritan River watershed. So what I do there, and what I'm doing, we start every year, we start in June, is I go out into streams, local streams throughout communities in Morris County, and I capture macroinvertebrates. The macroinvertebrates are the bugs, basically, the insects that live at the bottom of a stream. And if you collect them and analyze what type of macroinvertebrates live there, you can tell the quality of the stream, right, without doing a chemical analysis on it. And then I also look at the stability of the banks. I look at the vegetation around it. I look at the what's near the streams and what that could impact it. Are there roadways? Are there parks? Are there humans? Are there human impacts to that particular stream that affect the water? But basically, it's the macroinvertebrate biological study, and then once a year in October, I will actually get samples from the same streams that I'm responsible for in Morris County, and I will do biological tests on them, meaning chemical analysis in a chemistry lab, so to speak. So I tested for nitrates, I tested for phosphates, I tested for dissolved oxygen, I tested for sulfates and chlorides. Chlorides are salt that runs off into the streams, right? So I do a chemical analysis there, all from a volunteer perspective, all with Raritan Headwaters. They've trained me there to do that. And it's great. It's just it's good to go out in the woods and be able to help. And eventually this information is all provided back to the NJDEP, Department of Environmental Protection. And then they will define impaired streams, work with municipalities to fix problems where we find issues and so forth. So it's a great thing to be doing. I really enjoy it.
Does
Cool.
Parsippany?
Do we have a similar,
Go ahead,
I
Judy.
I just want to follow up with what he just said. Do we have a similar effort here on our Whippany River Water? I mean, I belong to the Whippany River Water Action Coalition, but I haven't heard of any kind of effort to do that kind of training or going out and sampling.
Yeah, so
I guess I should ask them too, but
yeah, I think so we're in the Whippany watershed, I believe, right? Yeah, Raritan,
yes,
the Rockaway River. It goes
a little bit of Rockaway too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know that I don't know the details around that. In the Raritan Headwaters Association, we have 70 sites that we monitor on an ongoing basis. And some of these sites are absolutely, they look so pristine, right? But when you actually get down to the crux of what's going on and what's living in the streams and such, like for example, the north branch of the Raritan Headwaters got a C plus this year based on some of the findings, and then as you get down into more urban areas, the infiltration of more pollutants and different types of things that can make that stream an impaired stream increases. So Whippany would be I can look into that for you, Judy, and find out what locally here.
In the New Jersey Audubon, I used to do teacher children thing with them, and they taught us about what you're talking about is that there's not many streams that are really not impacted in our aquifers in New Jersey. And that's why what you presented on today is so important, because we're so built out that impervious and stormwater and all that contributes to mooring all our waters. So thank you for a great presentation.
And moving forward, municipalities can do things, where development projects take place that requiring the green infrastructure implementations, not just creating a detention basin or a retention basin, but making sure that, all across the entire property, rain gardens are installed and bioswells are, and maybe even impervious, parking lots and things where a lot of that water can re-infiltrate, because a lot of these are taking down natural, carbon footprints that have been around a long time when we've taken down all the trees and such for new development. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's important.
Well, yes,
Wasn't Len,
that's now required by the New Jersey DEP is green infrastructure first. So
Right.
sorry, Ken. Okay.
I was saying, wasn't Len the head of the Whippany River? Is it Whippany River watershed?
Yes, Parsippany River Water Action Coalition, and he's not, and he hasn't been part of it for about a year.
No, but he should know what they have a program.
Oh yeah, I'll ask him. I'm asking him. I find it interesting, and it would be great when we're trying to convince our administration in Parsippany why these things are important. As
Oh, I
Tom
get
said.
it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He could give us whatever history there is.
Yeah. I do have another question though.
Great.
I noticed that when the rain barrel itself, you had a pipe that went off the rain barrel and then went into the ground.
Right.
So my rain barrel, which actually isn't working properly, I have it running into my garden. Is it better that I put it into the ground so it goes into the ground?
Well, if it, it depends on the purpose of it, but there is an overflow usually with all the rain barrels because they fill up, right? And once
Yep.
they fill up, now you have to deal with the overflow. And what I have a rain barrel in my backyard, and off of that rain barrel, I actually have a rain garden. So the overflow goes into a rain garden and it
Okay.
will absorb into it. You got to be careful because if you have all of that going into a garden, it may overwater that garden,
Okay.
during a heavy rainstorm and such. But definitely you need to consider what you're going to do with the overflow. So there's either a pipe or a vent at the top of it that allows that overflow of water once the 50 gallons is filled up.
Okay.
You just and what I've done with that is I just built a small little rain garden over adjacent to it, right? And it just flows right into that rain garden as overflow.
That's good to know.
Waste
Thank
not,
you.
want not, right?
So,
Yes.
so is the Parsippany government amenable to building swales and rain gardens if areas on their property are identified as, a good opportunity?
Yes. They've started doing that at one point. And as we've talked, Tom and I before, Rutgers had come out and tried to help us. They've created a lot of studies trying to do this in a big way about 10 years ago or a little bit more, maybe more than that. And then actually implementing some of the rain garden in the Troy Brook area. And for some reason it had halted maybe about 6 years ago. So we're campaigning to start it up again. And it's coming, it's not getting better, right? We need it more. So strengthening numbers, we're going to go for the gold and water, hopefully. And that's why I wanted to know about the water quality and selling this, because it's so important for us. And
I just wanted to
the Troy
ask.
Hills area like the idea. What?
I like the idea also. I just wanted to ask
Yeah.
if any of our other participants would like to unmute themselves if they have any other questions for Thomas. I don't know if Banu or Jen or Srini, or I'm not sure, McBench, or just make everyone aware that this will be on the Parsippany Library public YouTube page. So you can go and see this again for some great ideas about your rain barrel, or maybe if you'd like to create a rain garden. Is there, Thomas, I have another question. Is there anything, like if someone lives in an apartment,
Right.
for instance, and let's say they're on the first floor, there's all rules and regulations, the HOA
Right.
and so on and so forth. Is there something that you could create on a smaller scale to be kind of I don't know, like
You can create, instead of a rain barrel, if you have like a deck or something outside of your apartment or something like that, you can actually create instead of a rain barrel, you can create a rain planter where
Okay.
water comes into a small planter and then comes off and then goes off of the edge there. Generally in apartment homes and in townhouses, you would need to work with your homeowners or your property owners association to see what they can do as a team. I know a lot of times, residents will gather together and get a group of volunteers and raise funds to install rain gardens and to beautify their little neighborhood in and around the townhome or the apartment.
Nice.
So a lot of, and you can actually do that, if you do have a residential homeowners association, bring that up and see if, homeowners in general would like to move projects forward. And then obviously, at the municipal level, you can, you can look at what's best for municipal buildings and libraries and firehouses and things like that,
Sure.
But to answer your question, though, yeah, the actual, there is a way to create a rain planter. I think you saw one of them in my presentation there, where it was you actually can have stuff growing out of the top of it, and it captures water, but it allows the water to slowly flow through and actually water the plants that are in that. And it could be a row, it could be tall, it could be, there's a lot of innovative ways to do that within a small space.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think Ken has a question. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Ken.
Going back to the pervious, impervious cover,
Mhm.
do you know of any municipalities in New Jersey or elsewhere that have any ordinances about using pervious cover?
I don't know. I can absolutely find out for you, Ken. I'm not that familiar with it. The most, what I've seen throughout is what the folks over at Rutgers are doing, because they get involved throughout the entire state. And I know from a green team, we're trying to partner with them now. So they may know the answer to that. Chris and some of the other folks that we've been working with trying to reach out to on the green team will definitely be able to answer that question better.
I mean, it may be just a Google search or something, but if there was a
No,
town
well,
that had implemented something like that and was successful, and commercial entities were not upset over it and things, that certainly would be useful.
No. There's two things that the state's doing. So the New Jersey DEP stormwater rules that went into effect in 2021 have requirements for different, what we call impervious, and different standards for that. What's a minor site plan, what's a major plan, not to get into the weeds, but they are talking about that. And a couple of years back, they started talking about stormwater utilities, which will make every municipality try to think about how we pay into a utility that based on our impervious coverage. So there's a lot to sort out, because Newark has a lot more than we do maybe, but those are things that are being looked at on the state level.
Yeah,
To
but
address.
the towns could always have a standard. Well, they could try to have a standard that's better than the state standard.
Right, absolutely. And
Yeah, that's what we tried to do with the green team, with the stormwater rules. A lot of people got these rules and they're strong, but make them stronger and make those standards for impervious stronger.
So I'm just saying, look, it takes the DEP forever to do something. They, have a lot of stakeholders who might be against doing things if it was, any possibility that would harm any business or certain industries. I'm just saying, we shouldn't rely on them. And if there's other examples around the country where this has been implemented, it'd be good to know.
I may be able to grab some of that for you. I know I've been taking a Green Infrastructure Champions program course. I have about 9 or 10 presentations for that. Chris actually presented examples from around the state. So I'll try to find out where they are in the municipality.
Yeah, but I'm on that. I don't know if well, we can talk about this offline, but I
Yes,
don't know
I
if,
agree.
I mean, impervious coverage is going to
Yeah.
be difficult, and I'm on that executive board, so I don't remember, I don't remember them talking about requiring it.
Right, but
You know,
you
like-
guys can
like-
always talk about this at your green
Yeah.
team meeting. Right now, I'd like to
Yeah.
give, if anyone has any questions for Thomas on this for your home green infrastructure, if you would like to unmute yourself, or even if you have any comments about the program, that would be great too. I guess not.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. This has been excellent.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. It was
Yeah.
very informative for me. I don't know about the rest of everybody, but it was very informative and very interesting to me because I have a bit of land and I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. And there were some good ideas there. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, it was my pleasure. And I thank you very much for having me.
Yep. Okay, so I
you.
just
Good
wanted to
job.
let you know that there's the next program for the green team, I believe is in July. It'll be July 15th, the Rain Gardens. Oh, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. It's for water conservation. So that'll be the next
Yeah, I think
green team.
that's me, right? I think
Yep.
we traded with the meat list, the one that was in the presentation. I think we traded places. So I'm doing the water conservation, and that meat list Mondays is going to be in September. Right?
Great. That's good. And then my bench, I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, said yes, thank you very much. They liked it. And I think that's, if no one else has any questions or any comments, I think then we'll say good night. Everyone have a really great
you.
weekend.
Thanks,
And
Tom.
thank you, Thomas.
You're
And we'll
welcome.
see you all on the flip side.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Good
Yep.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Okay, there we go. I just like to make sure everybody gets out.